call the meeting to order. We've got, for roll call, everybody here, expect nothing to be coming.
Expect to be here.
Okay. Additions to the agenda, we've got one of them, number 5 on the business. And with that addition, I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Carol, second by Bruce. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. District 741 is proud of Teal's Market for donating 100 backpacks for students at the elementary school. On to item 6, public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Okay, we will move on to approve or correct the minutes from the August 27 board meeting.
Move we accept the minutes.
Motion by Bruce,
Second.
and a second by Mark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Got no items on the consent agenda, so we'll move to number 1 under business. Review information concerning the safety security meeting on August 29th at 6:30. There were only 3 board members present at this meeting, so we did not have a quorum of the school board, and no decisions were made during this meeting.
Just a little bit of informational about it, and certainly the other board members who attended can pipe in for this thing. There were about 15 people from the community, including administrators and board members, who attended the meeting. As I mentioned in the little write-up I had, did not have a quorum of the board. No decisions were made on the part of the board in any manner. I will apologize a little bit to the community. I do know I moved the meeting, so I'm hoping it didn't cause any issues for the people. And also, while we moved the meeting, then I didn't know that they were going to lock the outside doors. So if there's any of you out there that did try to get into the meeting that couldn't because those doors were locked, certainly give me a call and I will apologize to you in person. It was certainly not the intent to ban anybody or not have anybody attend that meeting. We did talk about a variety of subjects and topics during that particular time. We had a discussion that there certainly are no way to absolutely prevent anything from happening or stopping somebody from who really intends to do harm. Even if you bulletproof and closed every window and door, there are certainly ways of getting in to do harm if they want to do. But we had some discussion about that. Talked about putting buzzer systems on, but we also discussed the fact that the last 2 events that have happened in the United States, both of those places had buzzer systems. One simply broke out the window of the door and entered the building, and the other one, they just waited until somebody buzzed in and then followed the person right into the building. So no matter what precautions you put in place, there's always ways to get around those precautions if somebody is really intent to do some harm. We had an awful lot of discussions. We talked everywhere from putting the buzzer system in to locking the building really up completely and not letting any even community members in to walk or anything, to make sure that the only people that enter the building are those that really have a purpose to be in the building and are part of the educational system or parent or guardian. So we talked about that. We talked about adding other security pieces. We talked about things from the procedures that we do on lockdowns, how we can do that, to communicating with the public, to communicating with parents if things happen. We talked about the SRO grant, with the hope that we're going to get that to bring a police officer into our buildings. We should be finding out, we think, at the end of this month, but we still have not found out whether we've received that particular grant. We talked about putting sensors on the doors so we can tell if any of them are open, or ajar, or not locked up. Just ways to bring students in from recess. Talked about ballistic shields. We talked about concern about fitness center being open to the public and then making sure that they don't have access to the rest of the building. We had some discussion about that. Just a pile of things we talked about. We had just a fantastic discussion to do that. Talked about one of the ways to make it more secure is to modify how people come into the building. Some places have actually modified their entrances so when they come in, they have to come straight into the main offices and then get buzzed into another set of doors. We also had a discussion about the fact that all of these things cost dollars and that we're running a very tight budget right now, and that if we're going to do some of these particular things, we really do need to have some communication with the community on what they would like to see take place in our buildings, and also what they'd be willing to support financially if we were going to do some of those things. So along with that, we did discuss the possibility of doing a survey to get input from the community members and also to get some input from them on what they'd be willing to support if we do some of those particular pieces that would add more security to the building. Any members that were here, anything you want to add?
I think you summarized it really well. I personally like the idea of the survey. We had 15 of us, there's lots of people in the area. Find out what everybody thinks.
And I do know before we do a survey, I would certainly write an article in the paper explaining what we're going to do, why we're doing it, and encourage people to go to wherever and how, get the surveys to us so that we can do that. And with that, I'll start to develop a survey so that we can try to get more input from the community members and parents and guardians.
Even though we had small numbers, people were very outgoing with their thoughts.
I thought it
A lot of
was an
it.
excellent movie, or meeting. I thought the discussion was really good. So I just wanted to update the public on that particular meeting, and we'll kind of go from there.
So if we were to move forward on anything and we have the whole board, we probably just need to think about it. But if we're going to do a survey, we would have to authorize you to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly, if the board directs me to do a survey, I will certainly do that. I think it's a good way to gather information from the community and from parents and guardians and staff, because they're also involved in all this, and possibly even the students, to get their thoughts. It's a big job, you know, it's just not one that will take a little bit of time. So if we're gonna go down that road and do it, we're gonna need to develop a survey and then find methods to get it out to the people that we want it to go to. Staff's a little easier because I have them in the building, so that if we have a survey, we can send it out to them to, you know, get a good response. But then it's finding ways to get enough of a response back so that it actually has some validity.
How does other districts do it?
I've seen it over my course in a number of different ways. I have seen surveys done that are primarily done over the internet. I think that's been the best way now because there's really not a lot of cost to the district for that. I've actually seen districts send out mailings with self-addressed stamped envelopes. My only concern that I would bring back to the board is that we are running a tight budget, and I would hate to spend that much on postage, and even then, they don't always get, even with a self-addressed stamped envelope, they don't always get a great return for that. And I believe that for those that it's an interest, if we put it on the internet or find other ways for them to return it, I think they'll return it if they're interested in that topic.
I personally was a little bit concerned that we have to include all of the older folks, seniors, in the decision. They might have grandkids, all the rest of it, and have an opinion that way. And one way that I know keeps the cost down is an insert in the shopper. And the only reason that I was involved in that a number of times was the shopper could go to everybody that's in this district, whether or not they buy a Paynesville Press. And it's relatively inexpensive to get it out there. And the postage is beyond a budget, but it can get to everybody if it's announced. Everybody would be able to participate.
I think they would have the opportunity to participate
Yeah.
if they want.
If we just do the internet, I think we'll exclude a fair amount of people potentially.
I think we'll be surprised on how many actually do go on the internet nowadays and have access to that and be able to do it. At the same time, I do think, I agree that if we're going to do this, that we use multiple ways of gathering the information.
So do you want to bring back something in the next month or so?
I will try. It's developing the survey that, tell you the truth, that will take me the most amount of time to try to find something that other people have done, or find a survey that will get us the information. I'll want to run that past a number of people to see if it's actually going to collect what we wanted to collect. So that's the biggest piece. Let me start to put something down, and I'll continue to update the board on where I'm at with it.
Okay, so we've got no action tonight on that item. You're just
This was solely informational today.
Does anybody else have any further questions on that item?
What I'm kind of gleaning from just body language is that I should move forward with this. I don't don't see anybody saying no. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to number 2 under business. Review and consider approval of resolution providing for the sale of general obligation school building refunding bonds, Series 2013A, and covenanting and obligating the district to be bound by and use the provisions of Minnesota statutes, Section 126C.55, to guarantee the payment of the principal and interest of these bonds. And we've got Betsy Knope here from Ellers and Associates that's going to explain what this is all about.
Yep, you guys have this pre-sale report, I assume. I'm just going to go through some of the highlights of the report. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. So let's first look on the second page for purpose and estimated impact. What the district is considering doing is refinancing the Series 2004 bonds. This is not unlike a homeowner I don't usually have it's not unlike a homeowner refinancing their home. What you're going to be doing is refunding the bonds at a lower interest rate. And it results in a direct savings to taxpayers. This isn't money that the district will have for operating or anything. It translates into a direct savings to taxpayers. So the purpose of the refunding is to reduce future debt service payments and tax levies. The existing bonds have interest rates of 3.85 to 4.50, and that may not sound like a lot, but this is going to be a short refunding, and our short-term interest borrowing rates, that you're going to see in a minute, are much lower than that, and that makes it a good refunding. So based on the current market conditions, Ellers is estimating that the new refunding bonds would have rates of 0.5 to 1.85. And those lower interest rates then are going to reduce the future debt service payments by approximately $286,000 over the fiscal years 2015 through 20. So that would be payable 14 through 19. The net present value of the refunding is $267,765, or 8.969%, and that's a large percentage of savings. The actual results, though, will be determined on the day that we sell the bonds. So these, at this point, are just estimates. And then the debt service is paid from the district's annual debt service levy. So going down to the state credit enhancement paragraph, tonight the board will be considering a resolution which calls for the refunding sale and also obligates the district to the state credit enhancement program. This is a free program through the state of Minnesota, and it provides for a payment by the state should the district default on these bonds. Number one, you're not going to default because you are going to levy a tax for the principal and interest plus 5% on the bonds. And the second thing is there has not been one default in the entire history of the program. So that's a good thing. And under the current bond ratings, the state credit enhancement will result in a Moody's AA2 rating. So to qualify that, you have to pass this resolution tonight, again calling for the sale and obligating yourselves to the credit enhancement program. And then there's also an application that goes along with that, and Ellers will coordinate getting the application process through the state of Minnesota. And we're going to skip over to other considerations. We've scheduled a closing on the new bonds to be on November 6th, and that is when the district will receive the proceeds from the sale. And then we call the bonds on February 1st, 2014. So for that short period of time, about 12 weeks, the proceeds will be available for investment by the district. So you can see on the proposed debt issuance schedule, and I think that's on page 4. Tonight you'll be adopting the resolution calling for the sale of the refunding bonds and obligating yourselves to that state credit enhancement program. The week of September 23rd, then, we will distribute an official statement, and that is basically a disclosure document which has the district's finances and its values and demographics and all that, so that the underwriters can consider bids on the bonds. And then on on the week of September 30th, there's going to be a conference call with the rating agency. We're going to have these bonds rated with an underlying rating. There are two types of rating. You could just do it credit enhancement only, but Moody's has talked to the district recently, so we're going to go with an underlying rating, and that will entail a telephone call with the superintendent and business manager. And then the school board meeting to award the sale of the bonds is going to be October 8th. And again, that closing date is the 6th of November. So following that is the numbers part of the refunding. And the first page is the sources and uses, and you can see the par amount of the bonds, and then you can see the uses of the funds here. The total underwriter's discount is 0.8%. That's kind of like points on a mortgage, and it helps the underwriters to construct their bids. And then cost of issuance, and deposit to the current refunding fund, and then there's a rounding amount because bonds are sold in $5,000 increments. So you have a rounding amount if it doesn't exactly come out to $5,000. So on page 6, you can see the coupon rates of the old bonds are from 3.85 to 4.5. And on page 7, the coupon rates for the new bonds are 0.5 to 1.85. So that's a much lower interest rate than you're paying right now. And on page 8, you can see the savings is about $286,000, and you can see that net present value benefit is 8.969, almost 9%, which is a really good percentage. So the other thing that Jody and I were asked to do is just estimate what the impact would be on a $100,000 house, and there's two factors here coming into play. With all the changes that the legislature made on the referendum and the new equalizing factors and the changes that they've made, that is going to result, in our estimation, about a $30 reduction for a $100,000 house. And we're estimating right now that the refunding will be another $5 reduction. So our estimate is on a $100,000 house, the taxes are going to go down about $35. We'll provide the district with a more detailed analysis of this after we actually sell the bonds. Then we'll be able to estimate that levy for 2014 also. The other good thing about a current refunding, and there are two types of refunding, there's an advance and a current. You guys will realize the savings of this for Pay 14. We'll be able to let the department know that you've done this refunding, and it will get on your levy for Pay 14. So there's sort of instant gratification as opposed to an advance refunding where you have to wait to see the impact of the lower taxes. So that's a good thing too. So are there any questions?
A while back, we had, I thought, two sets of bonds running. One was on the middle school that was supposed to be paid for in like 2015 or something. And then are we talking about those bonds? Okay, so then the other set of bonds was one that was on the theater or the auditorium that was paying just interest. And I know that I had a discussion, I'm not sure with you for a while, but that's what we're talking about, that whole working. We're just going to have one set of bonds at this point?
Well, this is just one issue that you're refunding, and I'm sorry I don't have that. I wish I had the column run here with me. I don't.
If it's a dumb question, because I know in the school board you can tell me that.
No, absolutely not. There are no dumb questions. But what I need and that what I don't have is your all your existing debt. This is just one bond issue
So
that we're
what
refunding.
is it?
Usually I do my homework on this, so I'm able to tell you. I don't know which
Well,
one.
because it goes to 2020, could it be the auditorium?
Could be middle school, I think.
It could be.
I can tell you what the
Because one of them was
original,
dropping off in like 2017, and then those payments, were supposed to make the payments on the interest only for the auditorium.
well, probably what we did with that, I did. Sometimes when you have existing debt, okay, so say you've got 2 bond issues outstanding, okay, and you do a third one, say it's for the auditorium. What we'll do is we'll wrap that third one around your existing debt. So say your existing debt, as you just mentioned, your last payment on it is 2015,
Someone there.
or something like that. Then we'll take that next bond issue that we've wrapped that debt around, and the principal won't start until those other bonds are gone. So that's very likely what we could have done in that case. The original amount of this bond issue was $3,085,000, and it was in 2004.
Auditorium.
That's the auditorium.
That's the auditorium, yeah?
Yep,
Okay, so that's what we have here.
that is what you have here. That is what you're refunding here, yep.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back, and actually I'm going to Eden Valley tomorrow night too. When I get back to the office tomorrow, I will do a little analysis of your outstanding debt, so we know exactly, we're looking at the whole picture.
I'll update the board and the community at our next board meeting on all our existing debt in regards to the building, and which ones is these specifically.
Is that October 8th? Or do you have another
No,
meeting?
there's one more.
There's one between that? Okay. We will provide you with all the existing debt, and I'll remember too. When is that?
I think it's the 24th.
The 24th? Okay. We'll make sure that we have that information to you, that this is the auditorium.
And my second question would be, if there's other debt hanging out there, and that's hanging at larger interest rates, are we missing a savings?
No. We look at this, we look at your debt 2 times a year, and we look to see what might be able to be refunded.
You can't refund whatever you,
Certain bonds aren't eligible until they run a certain period of time, I think.
Except that there is one other occasion in which you can do a refunding before the call date, and that's an advance refunding. You can only by federal law do that once. And the problem with getting the kind of percentage rate that you're getting on this, like 8.9%, is that the bonds have to be held in escrow until the call date. And what happens is that you've got what's called negative arbitrage, because you're not able to earn enough to make an advance refunding work. By Minnesota state law, an advance refunding has to at least be at 3%. So we'll take a look at what you've got out there. This is a current refunding. We're not bound by that 3%. We don't like to see it when it's really low, because you've got cost involved with issuing. And by the way, this current refunding is inclusive of costs. It's net of costs. So that's your savings after all the costs have been taken into account. But even with a current refunding, we wouldn't do anything if it were 1 or 2%, because you're just, it probably wouldn't be worth it. We want to see that percentage be 4 or 5, 6, and in your case, almost 9% here. So that's a really good one. But we take a look at it 2 times a year. Advance refundings aren't working quite as well in the interest environment that we've got right now. And again, there's this 3% thing, but we keep track of it 2 times a year. We let Bob and Joan know what's available to be refunded.
because there is a cost to the refunding.
Right.
Page 5, it kind of goes over the costs.
Right. Yeah.
You'd be able to save enough to make that work well also.
But we'll make sure you get an information on the picture of the district's entire debt for the next quarter.
We met, I can't remember who's on the finance committee, but it's obvious that we need to do this, there's no downside.
Well, it doesn't financially benefit the district. We're not trying to save anything on it here. It really does just benefit the taxpayers.
Correct. Yeah.
Considering you just passed a referendum's not a bad idea.
No, and the legislature, with all the changes for the levy referendum too, this is a really good time to be able to be doing this, and taxes are going to go down on 2 fronts.
So So we need a motion on passing the resolution, so moved.
Motion by Bruce.
Second.
Second by Cheryl. And
Is roll call.
roll on that.
Colin? Aye. Mark?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And thank you for coming. Okay, number 3, review and discuss contract for at-risk chemical-free counselor services with Recovery Plus St. Cloud Hospital.
Right, the board had asked me to bring this back from last week with some numbers. If you look at the addendum, I think that breaks down the cost that it would increase. If we just added the hours back that my budget does not support at this point, just to get them the cost for the day and a half, it costs us around $1,500. But if we were to double that and go with actually what the grant also covered, you'd have to double the complete cost of it, which would add another over $12,000 to the budget. In no way do I want anybody to believe that I don't think this is a worthwhile and great thing to have. I talked to a number of districts, some have them, more don't have them because of budget cuts. Doesn't mean that this isn't a great thing and it's not beneficial. Certainly, if we don't have it, we need to continue to remind administration and staff and parents and everybody that if they see things going in the wrong direction, that they need to contact us immediately. I just talked with our mental health counselor, who we've also been running by a grant. She believes that their grant is going to come through. And so she comes, I think it's a day every 2 weeks, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
And hers is a different type
Type
of
of grant,
program.
yeah.
And she runs a different type of program as well.
Yeah, so I certainly think, even though what I'm recommending really is reducing the amount of time, and it's budgetary type of things, that I think there's ways for us to continue to monitor how our students are doing and make sure that we report that as quick as we can, because that's just as important as anything. It's just catching it and then getting them to services, whether it be social services or the services we're able to provide ourselves. But it's still a monetary thing at this particular time. I did talk with a grant writer, the grant writer from St. Cloud, because I talked about are there any grants out there that we can look at to replace one that we have? And she is just not seeing this type of grant go through right now. They've done numerous grants for a chemical health or chemical dependency counselor in St. Cloud itself. And St. Cloud right now is not even seeing any of those things. And they've had to cut their programs for the same reason that we're looking, because the grants run out. Then you can't afford to have the particular program. So there just isn't anything out there right now for us. She did tell me, because she is a specific grant writer, she did tell me that she would let me know if she sees anything to come across her desk that things she believes would be a benefit for us in this particular area, but not seeing much right now.
I guess I'm okay, I appreciate the number breakdown that you sent, but I have to say, with me, I was hoping to get more, what exactly are we cutting from the program? I mean, it's one thing to talk about the dollar amount, but it's another thing is how exactly does that affect the kids? What are we gonna not have without her here? And we did have a conversation.
We did.
And I understand it all depends on what's, what the needs are from year to year. And I'm still just not comfortable with it. I mean, budgets are budgets, I understand that, but I just, I wish there was more, I would feel a lot more comfortable voting one way or the other if I knew what was different. I hate voting for cuts when you don't know what the outside's gonna be.
I wish I had a crystal ball that I could give you all of that, Deb, because if I did, I've already won the lottery and we wouldn't have to worry about this because I'd be paying for the concert myself. But I don't. Every year is different as far as the needs of the kids. You can't predict when kids are going to go under crisis or an issue is going to come up. All we can do is keep a vigilant watch on our students and make sure that if we see anything happening, that we immediately report it to our counselors and to our administration. And
To our counselor that's only gonna be here one day, one in a little bit. That's the part that scares me. You got everybody on a heightened awareness, and where did they report it to? She's not here.
Well, but Lori's here, and I'm here, and we have to, once it comes to us, we need to track down where we can get our students in, and that's our responsibility. You know, do I wish we had the dollars to continue to fund the grant portion of this thing? Absolutely, I do that. I don't not do this happily.
Oh, I understand that.
You know, I just don't have also an answer for the 23 students that we're short right now, and the $100,000 that's deficit that's creating for us.
Well,
So-
23 sounds better than the press came out with. Said
Well,
35.
we're going up and down a little bit. You know, at one time I was at 12,
Yeah.
and I thought, hey, it's rebounding. And then the next day I got another notice that this happened, and then it went back to where it was. I just can't financially say that we can support this right now, even if it's good, because if we support that, the next question that I have to answer is what else is gonna go then?
I still think we should consider bringing her at least to that portion of the half that we had, because,
Well, I can certainly live with the $1,500 more than the additional $12,000. So certainly if it's the board desire to do that, you know, that to me is something that I might be able to squeeze out of another budget. 12,000 would be, that's a big number. And if things rebound, you can certainly hear me come back to the board later and say, we're gonna look at increasing the hours.
Yeah, but could you get her then?
I don't know that.
Yes, we could.
Could?
We could. She's working independently with another office, and she has told me that she could make it work if we would come back at a later time in the school year, that we could do
I
that.
still like the idea of having her 3 half-days instead of 1.
Yes.
Well, on that, I think we'd have to talk with her about whether or not we could spread it out to less time, more days. I think we can at least ask the question.
Yeah, Heather and I, what Heather has done in the past is she has always looked at what are the needs of our kids and what are the needs of the programming that she's running currently with the kids. Because she does small groups, she does independent counseling, she runs the SAD program and the Team Up program. And she's always
2 reasons not to cut her time.
made the programming fit the hours. So it's not like she tries to be consistent with one of her days, but then that other, 2 days or whatever, she has flexed with the needs of the kids. Many times I've called her and said, hey, this happened, can you be here tomorrow? And she has often been able to adjust so that she's able to come in and work with our kids for that need, and then move to her other place of employment. The one thing is, we have in the past, last year was a luxury, we had her for 3 days. Definitely the time was well spent and spent with our kids doing independent counseling and group counseling and programming. Prior to that, we had her for two days, and that had worked well for our kids. So I definitely would appreciate the day and a half. I know the financial commitment it takes. Obviously, we will use her services for the time that we have her.
In this discussion, I don't think, in my mind, the discussion is about an individual. I thought our
It's the
discussion was
position.
about
It
something.
is the position. It
Yeah,
is.
about the
It
kids.
is.
So therefore, these people are vending this to us and have raised their rate. Is there somebody else there vending
Well,
something similar?
she's very familiar. I think my only frustration with the rate, because things do go up, is the fact that I found out that she doesn't get any of the dollars when it went up. So the very person that we're getting charged for it, it's not going towards that person. That's some of my frustration. I think the rates that they have are not unreasonable rates based on other things that I've seen.
But are there other vendors?
Certainly, we could look for other vendors.
Is there a possibility of a private contract?
Possibility, I think there's some other things that we have to look at if we decide to go down that road. I think for this year, we're kind of committed, I think, to this particular piece. We've already passed that piece in there. In the future, that's a different thing. I think in the future, I would say there's nothing wrong with looking. We've done that before.
If it's about the kids, I think that's where we need to be at. It
But-
might be
but
to have a great
just-
individual, but it might not be that individual.
Well, but keep in mind, part of it is an individual. you can lowball anything that you want, and I've seen some of the results of doing that, and if you don't have somebody that can actually help the kids, it's not a good spending of the money too. So it really is about service, it is about an individual to some degree, because that person is still the person that's working with those kids, and if that person can't develop the rapport, can't develop those types of things that are necessary, and, you know, and partly because you're not paying the person enough money to do that, then you also have the issue there. So it is,
Doesn't mean there are people that can do the same.
I'm not saying there is,
And
but
if there's other vendors, they might be at other schools.
Yeah, I
But they
did-
did raise the price on us.
Yeah.
And seriously, there's not much around here that's going up. We're trying to cut everywhere, it seems like.
I would just not want the cost.
Everything, I'm gonna
Yeah.
argue with you on that one, Bruce, everything's gone up, the cost of every single thing the school purchases has gone up, and this is just one more thing that we're purchasing, it's not the individual, she does do a phenomenal job, but the reality is, we didn't figure in an increase for this commodity, we figured in an increase for everything else, but we just left her, or this commodity at the same rate. To me, that was surprising, because I'll be honest, I told Bob, well, everything else in that free world went up, why didn't you think that would?
I just hadn't, and the only answer I have is I had no indication that they were gonna do that.
So, the rate increase doesn't surprise me.
Now, but even given that, even if they had not raised it, I would still have a hard time finding the additional $12,000 in that budget for the extra day and a half, which we've been getting for a grant. So even if we hadn't gotten that, do that, you know, if the board wants to go in and go back to the same hours, you know, that's a little bit easier for us. You know, we can handle that a little bit easier than we can adding that additional day and a half. You know, I had no doubt that the hospital is still looking for grants, but like I said, it's not a surprise based on my conversation with the grant writer that there just isn't much out there right now. Unfortunately, the race to the top, I believe, has taken an awful lot of big bucks for very few schools. You know, that's where a lot of those dollars are going to, are the race to the top schools. And as a result of that, I do believe that many of the other things that were being used or paid for by grants disappeared.
For the sake of the meeting, I think we all agree that it's a quality program, but I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we spend the extra $14.99.
If you could maybe just make the motion back to the day and a half, just in case I'm off a
Okay, I
couple
will make
pennies,
the
I don't want
motion that we
to drop
make,
that.
return her back to a day and a half, or half of the,
Okay, Linda, you got that?
I'll second that.
Okay, good motion by Deb, and second by Cheryl. Any further discussion?
I have one other further discussion with it. If we're gonna be adding more back to the budget, I would like to see an expenditure that's coming back that we're gonna take away then. Excuse me. We're very close to deficit spending, you guys, again, and if we're gonna keep on adding to it, I want to start seeing some of us cut some of the other places then. Where are we gonna get this money from?
we have money in the bank, we're not down to, we have to release this for that. And if that's what you want to see, that, I mean, I'm not saying that we're gonna just keep adding and adding either too, but we're not talking about.
I'm just saying, every $1,500 here, I mean, we don't have a.
It's not $1,500 to me, it's a position that our kids need, and in this community, we need.
There is a lot
that
of positions
list.
that we have, and there's more needs for other things than just this here also for kids.
Yep.
You know, so
This is just one.
basically, as the financing of this organization and stuff like that, if we're gonna be adding things to the budget that has not been budgeted for, I think we should have the administration look back and say, what can we cut for $1,500 to get to that? That
You
would
look
be-
at it as an addition to the budget, I look at it as an oversight, because like I said prior, every other commodity we put in a what, 2%?
Well, but it varies depending on where I'm at.
Anyway, every other commodity got an increase except for this one.
I understand that, that's all I'm saying, that's all I'm saying is that, you know what, then we should be looking at, if we're adding, before we jump ahead and say, we're gonna add this here back right away, let's look at opportunities that we can do besides adding it back, or maybe not even opportunity, and some other things that we can do to cut costs.
I'm all for doing that, but right now, this is on the agenda.
Well, we can table it, I mean, it's not, it doesn't have to be, okay today.
I made the
We have a
motion.
motion on the
Second.
You have a motion on the table.
Yep.
And a second.
And a second. And is there any further discussion?
And one additional thing, listening to you talking about this whole program, you talked about how if the students needed things, the job was, if this person wasn't here, you or Lori needed to get them to who they needed to
Well,
get to.
We need
In
to
that
get them,
process.
there are social
And you talked
services.
about the shortening of that time.
Even if we had, my belief is this, even if we had this person here with us 5 days a week, if you don't catch the student, it doesn't make any difference. And you've got to catch a student as quick as you can, because once they go into crisis, then things can go very quickly. So the sooner you catch the student, the better, regardless of how many days a week we have this. If the person isn't caught and doesn't, the at-risk student doesn't get the resources and the help that they need, it's not a good thing.
So say we find somebody and they need the help and resources, are those sources available?
Well,
Or
sometimes,
is this cut taking that resource away?
well, there's still social services.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, you're not gonna have the same support in our school that you had.
So you're just saying that maybe where it took a little bit more time,
Well, we just,
here, we're gonna maybe move a little faster to get them to.
well, I would hope that we always move fast. What I would say is that we just need to know that we've reduced this in our building, that that's not available, so that we really want to keep reminding ourselves that we need to, if a student goes into some kind of at-risk behavior or has a crisis, we just need to try to catch it as quick as we can before it escalates and get them help sooner, which then is usually easier to deal with. But to say that there's always the service available, there's always service available, but some of it's at a cost.
And it's not
And-
just the at-risk and chemical, it's the programs that helps keep the kids from becoming at-risk.
True.
Again.
Lori?
If I can just chime in on Bruce's question, one thing that Heather does provide, we always need to move quickly and try to identify kids. Having her in the building helps us provide those resources either to that student or get the information to the parent to provide other resources that may not be in the building. That is one of the things that she does. One of the other things that she has access to and has helped us get programming to kids that they need is working with the hospital. She is able to make those connections quicker than, say, having us go through social service. You know, it does lessen that time to get resources to the students. She also, when she's not on our clock, and she is up at the hospital, she does stop by, meets with our kids, checks on, so when the kids come back to the building, that transition time is smoother. One comment to your question, Mark, is what are we going to give up? One thing that I did visit with Bob about is we have that Carol Weaver grant. If you're aware of that, kind of goes to instructional things for students in the classroom. The teachers have agreed that they would be willing to move that. Again, we did it a couple years ago when the district was in a similar situation to help pay for the resource of having this position for a day and a half. So that's not the whole $1,500, but it's around
It
$899
would probably be
or
around
something.
$800.
So that is just something.
I'm just
that-
concerned
but
about
I
keeping
understand
adding
where you're
stuff
at.
to it, and there's schools out there that doesn't have anything, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. We are, we don't have millions of dollars in the bank either.
Okay, so we have a motion to increase it by
To a day and a half.
to a day and a half, whatever that may be.
Yeah, it will be approximately around that ballpark of $1,500. I just don't want to get caught to the nickel and be wrong by a few pennies.
Okay, is there anything else?
So if that money was going to move from there to offset this $1,500 a little bit, does that need to be included in a motion?
I think you really authorized me to go to a day and a half. I mean, the other piece that we could look at, and we'll look at the budget and do all that. If a student goes into crisis and we need more time, I'm gonna find a way to get that student more time using that particular counselor. If something comes up and it's unusual and it needs to be dealt with, we're not gonna ignore that. And if I need to squeeze things to make sure that that happens, then I'm gonna squeeze things to make sure that happens. We don't wanna leave anybody at risk.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, number 4, review and discuss policy 206, public participation in school board meetings, complaints about persons in school board meetings, and data privacy considerations.
So this is the second reading of the policy, just bringing it back for comments, questions, changes, revisions, or I think in there I also put down possible adoption. I don't think we have to go to 3 readings. If the board feels comfortable with it, we can certainly do that. I think that depends on how the board feels about the policy.
I make a motion to approve the policy.
Okay, we got a motion
I'll
by
second.
Luke to approve and a second by Deb. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And number 5, review and consider approval to revoke the authority given to Todd Burlingame on October 25th, 2011, concerning the Paynesville U.S. Army Reserve buildings and grounds, and redelegate all signature authority to Robert Hewitt, current superintendent of schools.
So moved.
Second by Mark, second by Lou. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Personnel, review and consider approval of maternity leave for Marie Grothy from approximately February 17, 2014 through April 11, 2014. Is that Kelly?
Yep.
Motion by Kelly. Second by Bruce. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, review and consider approval of maternity leave for Tammy Maher from approximately January 19, 2014 through March 14, 2014. Motion by Lou, and a second by Bruce. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 3, review and consider approval of maternity leave for Sarah Golds from approximately December 21st, 2013 through March 1st, 2014. Motion by Bruce, second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And number 4, review and consider approval of maternity leave for Amanda Wertz from approximately January 1st, 2014 through February 11th, 2014.
So moved.
Motion by Cheryl. Second by Lou. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Lori.
Okay. We didn't have to move it down.
Yeah, I think we're good to do that.
Okay, I would like to tell you that your activity pass is from Max. He may or may not be able to make it tonight because of the games going on, but he wanted to make sure that you receive that. Bruce had mentioned, I believe it was our last meeting, about some, what is it costing for some of our college programs and some of the programs that we have offering here. These are approximation numbers as far as costs. Joan wasn't in the office to get the dollars and cents, but these are approximation numbers and student involvement in the program. So I will go through those real briefly. The one thing I will say, these outside programs do a lot for our students. They involve the college program, the vocational program, and also as we have had to make some cuts in the number of electives or course offerings, as far as we can only offer one advanced biology course during during the day, and we can't offer 2 sections of it because we don't have that number of students. It has allowed more flexibility in students' scheduling so they can take the courses that they want to take in our building and still get the other courses in their schedule. The first section is our college course offerings that we offer, and then you'll see the cost next to that. Most of them right now are ranging at $1,500. You will see Central Lakes cost went up. They were at $1,000 last year. They did go up to $1,500 this year. Southwest is the most expensive. They are at $3,000. There is a mandatory staff development that each of those teachers teaching. Those courses have to do every year, so that runs about $700 once you get the mileage and the sub-costs and those types of things in there. The one thing that goes with the honors literature course and the honors composition also that's not on this list, it is mandatory that they are allowed to expend $500 or more on novels during that year, modern novels. So that is part of that program cost. Then you'll see to the right the number of students that have been in those courses. You'll see statistics. We didn't offer it as a college course last year, so we didn't have any students. This year we have 56 students, actually 2 class sections of students taking it for college credit this year. And to keep in mind, there's other students in these classes. These are the numbers of students that chose to take it for college course credit. These programs allow you, and that's one thing that's different between some colleges, concurrent programs, is some will allow you to run kids in that class that aren't taking it for college credit, along with kids that are taking it for college credit. Some programs don't allow you to mix those students, these do. So we do have some kids taking those courses just for high school credit. They don't want to take them for the college credit. That's the student choice, or they may not have the GPA or get the AccuPlacer that allows them to take it for college credit. This way we can still allow them to take it as a high school class, but they won't qualify for the college class. The Infinity courses, those are our online courses, and there's a whole realm of different courses that we offer through that. What you'll see there is Infinity offers general high school courses. That is at $250 a course, plus the membership fee of $2,000. Some of their courses, like their chemistry course, you can also get college course credit through Central Lakes. They have a couple different colleges that they run through as well, but there is an additional $150 that's charged to the school for students that do that. Okay, so that's that $150. We had 10 students last year take advantage of that. This year at this time, I have not received any paperwork from students choosing to take the courses for college credit. The general classes range from econ to, literature, children's storytelling, different things. We had 43 individual students taking a course. This year we have 37, so it is down a little bit there. In general, we have right around 13.9 into that course. Again, these are approximations. Going down the Ridgewater tuition, that is charged to us per credit at $183 per credit. This is where I kind of need Joan, and we need to go through like the detailed expenditure report, because you'll see that PSEO number down below. That is per class, all right? So 63 periods are PSEO, which would equal to about 9 students in 2013. Some of those 9 students were going to Ridgewater, so we actually did not lose all of the dollars for them. Instead, we paid Ridgewater $183 just for the credit that they had there, and then we still received the student allotment of dollars. But if a student would go to St. Cloud, or the tech school up in St. Cloud, and they went PSEO, we lose all those dollars. So And that's where Joan's on vacation this week, so to pull those specific students, we would have to look at that for me to separate those dollars. This year, at this point, and all of this year's registrations are done. The kids' cutoff actually is Friday, but pretty close. We only have 3.5 students going to PSEO, and I know 2 of those are Ridgewater students. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Joan and I have worked out this summer a more detailed way of coding all of these different things, so it will be easier to pull out, at different times during years. We get charged at semester to see where we're at with the charging from the different programs. Prior to that, this has all just kind of been coded in general in gifted and talented. So we have worked out so that budgeting for your purposes of looking at that budget sheet, it should be easier to pull out those dollars per program. Any questions in regards to that? Okay, all right. Other things going on in our secondary building, we had a great start to the school year. I think the added day for in-service time with the teachers, they worked hard, the building was hot, but we got a lot of work done, and I think that is in part why we feel like the school year just had a very smooth start. I have started doing some walkthrough with the eye observation, getting back to teachers in using the electronic version. I'm still learning a few different things, and I also know a few teachers as well have done already some buddy observations or some peer observations on each other, and have talked about the reflection in the pre and the post conferencing with that, and it's all been very positive. So that program is already starting to be used over here. And we're starting with homecoming planning. Homecoming is next week. And so student council and team up is in the process of planning those activities. I think it's going to be another good homecoming week. We are going to be doing a K-12 Pep Fest again on Friday. So I will be forwarding the whole schedule to Bob and ask him to forward it out if you guys would like to, take part and see what's going on. We'll have coordination on Monday starting at 7, and then we will start with the high school festivities kind of right around lunchtime. The band starts to play during lunch, and then we kind of roll from there. So we will give you that schedule if you'd like to stop in and see what's going on as we enter into homecoming. With that, any questions that you might have for me? Our sports teams have been working hard. Kids have been working hard in class.
Thanks, Larry.
All right, thank you.
Elementary school report, Dave.
Feel like I'm at a congressional hearing. As you can see from the personnel, I had a long line outside my office for maternity leave, so we'll continue to look at finding long-term subs and try to be creative in that way. So we also had a very smooth start to the school year. Next week we are going to be doing our school-wide evacuation drill, pre-K through 5. And last year it took us like 14 minutes and 8 seconds to get 500 and some students to the church, which is about 4 blocks away. So we'll work on improving that. And we're also going to be joining the high school for their Pep Fest on Friday, so we're hoping to kind of coordinate that together. This summer, last board meeting, you looked at the school improvement plan a little bit. It is a long document, so if you have any questions about that, you certainly can come and see me and I can walk you through that. Our leadership team is the group of staff that worked hard to put that plan together. We take a look at interventions everything that we're doing to help close the achievement gap, and also to have our students who are already proficient to continue to grow. That is a working document, and we look at that about every 5 to 6 weeks, and we'll update that with the Department of Ed and also with the Title I grant. Our leadership team also attended a a conference this summer in St. Cloud. There were 10 of us there, and it was kind of a team building activity, and our leadership team's really come a long way in the past year from when we put it together last summer. And we're working on our PLC agendas where staff will meet. We'll have it set up where they meet 90 minutes a month, and they'll be working on agendas based on our school improvement plan. So again, if you have any questions about that, you certainly can give me a call or stop in and see me, and I can go into detail on some of those. We did, according to our school improvement plan last year, we did exceed our math goal considerably, and so we've had to rethink how we want to continue with that, because we actually, our scores were where we wanted them to be in 2017, and so we're a few years ahead, and so we have to be careful not to overestimate, but also plan for student growth. With the reading test being new last year, then we'll continue to look at that and base our SMART goals on what our scores were this year, and so it's a new test, and so otherwise, anything else for me? I don't know, that's all I have.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Dave and Matt, community ed.
Just passing out the brochure there since my last report, our brochures come out, which you probably all received in the mail. We've got quite a few new programs and activities that are going well. We just came from the ECFD annual carnival tonight. It was a beautiful night for that. Our next community event is the September 21st movie in the park. So if you put that on your calendar. We also have mini theater week from this Friday. So from Friday and Saturday. So those are some events coming up. We just met. I've got a good new team of BNC for this year. So we've got a lot of stories already happening and new things that we're going to be covering. I just finished wiring this system today. Donnie made the brackets. Our goal for doing this, of course, is just so we can put a better product out on our YouTube channel and then also channel 8. So appreciate you guys talking into the mics and working on that. It does make a big difference because with the camera back there. So it'll take some tuning, but I think it should help our quality. So our residents, our community will be able to hear better and be able to partake in the process. Our fitness center, we just ended our second highest year at this fiscal year for revenue-wise. So it's hard to believe, but it's 12 years ago this June that we opened up. So we do have some capital expenditures that have been needed to happen with that many years on our things. So other than that, do you have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Max is unable to join us, so I'm going to skip to Henry.
Okay, just a few things. We did have a visit from the Federal Real Property Assistance Program, U.S. program. Every 3 years, they have to come out and visit when we purchased the Reserve Center. So they're out to visit really to make sure that we're following what we said we were going to do. I think we've made a little bit of movement in that direction, but not a lot. The building itself that was used for the main piece of the Reserve Center, there are a number of things that need to be fixed at, and I talked with Donnie, and we're going to talk with the city about the exact things that we need to do in order to put students into that building, because it's not ADA compliant. There's a number of issues. There's not alarm systems. There's a number of things that are missing. We need to really take a close look at what there is and what there isn't and what we need to get done. We were reminded that we have about 3 years to kind of get to where we said we were going to go in, and we are.
2 years.
No, I'm still going to push her for that 3rd year. But in 3 years, including this year, is what she had said. Although I'm not done plead my case on that one. But we had a good visit with her, very nice lady, and she wants us to be successful. She wants us to get to where we need to go with that piece. It is a financial part of it. It's just that we don't have the capital to be remodeling that building right now. I think there are some things that we can do, but I think right now we need to probably concentrate on getting the minimum things done, the things that we have to get done in order to be able to have occupancy with students in that building. And I think we have some other ideas of how we might be able to use it to kind of get compliant with what we said. Our maintenance shed is being used. I think the fields are being used. We have our horticultural classes, greenhouse out there, so they do use the building some, but that's not the same thing as we kind of said we would use it for educational purposes. So we do have some work to do in that area. So I will continue to update the board as we get more and more information as we kind of continue that journey. But as she reminded us, really 3 years, they could also, if we're not moving in that direction, they could also take that building back if they wanted to. I don't think that's their intent. I think they would prefer us to be successful and get the thing moving. So we're going to need to find out what exactly we have to do, and I think we have some ideas. If we get the building in a place where we can have students in there, I think then we'll be all right. Now, a few other things, as I mentioned, we are down right now 23 students. That can change very quickly. Like I said, at one time during the summer, I'm like, we're down only 12, and then the next day, within a week, it had changed again. So I do expect that to go up and down, and I'll continue to update the board. It is over $100,000 that cost us, plus they also didn't give us much title money. We're about $15,000 from that, but that has steadily been going down over the years. So we didn't expect to go down that much, but we did think it would go down. We're continuing, I know it's next thing, but we're also starting to meet with more and more groups on negotiations. I got to talk with my pairs, and they want to start now, so we'll be setting up a meeting to start the pair negotiations. We're meeting with the teachers, the bus, and the custodians right now, and starting to meet with administration again, but I know that's also on our docket, so we're busy with that part. I just want to thank the students and the staff. I just think they did just an outstanding job, considering it was relatively toasty in our buildings. It was hot, and they just did a phenomenal job doing their best to keep everybody cool and educating our students. So I just want to thank the staff and the students for really doing an outstanding job for a fantastic first week. I just couldn't be more impressed. I did meet with food service after the concerns that the board kind of talked to me about at the last meeting. We are looking at a few things. The food service is going to go to kind of a workshop place where there's a number of tasting things also to look at more things. We did have a discussion about, the food service is doing fine right now. We can't run into negative, we can't do that, but we can just break even and keep a fund balance. We do want to have a fund balance there for any emergencies that occur, but we don't have to, or really shouldn't, want to bring or increase that fund balance too much. So we did talk, and one of our topics was nuggets, chicken nuggets, and there are some that they're going to look at and see what we can do, and we do have to cost some things out, but we are going to look to see what we can do to continue to provide the students with things that they like to have. All right, so we are working on that. Just a reminder to the board, my evaluation next week. Okay, yeah, I know, I sent those forms out to you guys, so next week, or I should say, next meeting, 2 weeks. Just a reminder that we'll close the session and go into my evaluation, reopen the session, and we will need to eventually come out with a summary of that evaluation for the community and the public. Also, just want to, let's see, one last thing. Resource Training and Solutions has an upcoming educational support staff recognition event. All right, that event's on September 25th. We did select a couple candidates for this. Just a few things. They portray positive role models for students, community, and staff, possess a thorough knowledge and work responsibilities, demonstrate safety for herself and others, and cultivates respect for resources and facilities, seeks to improve personally and professionally, making a difference in the lives of virtually everybody. Those were kind of the criteria that we looked at. I'm just excited to say that one of those particular people is a para, Terry Davidson. So congratulations, and they'll be at that event on the 25th. And the other one I'm also equally excited to say is Linda Mayer. So, and with that, I think that's all I have.
Thanks. Is there anything else before the board tonight? Not, adjourned.